What it do, YouTube? In today's video, we're gonna try to camber my XB for the free. Now, is it gonna be safe? I hope so. Is it gonna be sketchy? Fuck yes. Now, if you watched the last video, you guys already know the XB is parked from now on, basically while it goes under construction. Yeah, and honestly, it covers the majority of the car, just not the side skirts and like the rear bumper and stuff, and that's okay. Well, let's take this off. Let's get this started, and I'm gonna show you guys how we're gonna camber the rear for the free. Now, it does need a good wash, but there's no point in washing it because it's gonna be here for so long that it'll probably get dirty again. Mind you, the exhaust is broken, so there's like a major exhaust leak. Woo! I miss driving this car, bro. All right, so obviously this is the rear suspension of the NXB. For some reason, I have all of this here. I don't know what any of this shit is. It looks like I probably just ran over something. It got caught on the XB. And yeah, I don't know. So let me cut all this shit off. All right, so first things first, we need to take off this caliper and take off the rotor. I'm gonna show you guys in a second after I take these off how we're gonna camber the XB. Now that we have the caliper completely off, obviously it's still connected to the line, but it's completely off. Well, here we have the hub for the XB. Now, when you look closely, there is gonna be 4 bolts right here. We're gonna take those off. All right, well, fun fact, these 3 holes actually line up with the back, so we can use the electric ratchet. All right, so now there's no bolts holding it on. I'm 90% sure we could just slap this with a hammer. Right, because there's no bolts. No bolts back here, so that should be it. Let me get a hammer real quick. All right, maybe not so easily. All right, so it says to put the rotor backwards and put some screws onto it. And then you get a wrench and try to hammer the bitch off. Will this work? Probably not. Bitch. God damn. This is probably really stupid. What I'm gonna do is lower the car, okay? I'm gonna put this here right onto where the wheel bearing lands. Have this land on the floor, and then I'm gonna put the entire weight of the car on it. And as soon as I hear a click or a clack, we're gonna put the car back up, and hopefully this shit falls down on the ground, okay? Bruh, ain't shit happened. Ain't nothing happened, bruh. I really thought that was gonna work. Yo, what's good, chat? We're back trying to camber the rear of the XB. Now, it's been a few weeks since I last recorded that last clip. If you haven't watched any of the videos, you better catch up. So the block and the header at the machine shop, they're gonna get inspected, they're gonna get cleaned, they're gonna let me know what size the rods I should get, and we'll go from there. Now, we're trying to boost it. If you guys haven't watched the series, just go watch it. There's probably like 3 or 4 videos already on it. We are going to turbo the XB with a max speeding rods turbo, and you guys are gonna see this shit's gonna be crazy. But right now, we're gonna try to get that hub, the rear hub out. Right now, it still doesn't have the brakes. The rotor's broke, so we're gonna need new ones. But I was already thinking of doing like a big brake kit conversion, or just doing ceramic brakes, because right now I just had the stock rotors. We got the car back up. Unfortunately, one of the studs came loose while I was taking off the wheel, so we ended up having to do some shit and take it off. But now I'm going to take this big boy hammer, okay, and hammer this bitch to hopefully have it come out, because right now it's looking like it's seized in there and friction weld stuff, so hopefully it's not that. You versus the guy who tells you not to worry about. Holy shit, dude. That shit's in there. It looks like it's starting to separate now because there's a little bit of space right there. So I'm gonna see if I can stick this or that fork in there and try to pry it out. Holy shit, bro. And I took out another stud. Fuck. Well, it's finally out. As you could see, it was fucking in there, okay? All right, now, as you can see, these are where the hub mounts to. And then the hub gets the caliper and the rotor and all of that. So technically, if we add some washers to this bottom part, this is a group of washers that I use currently for one of my motor mounts to raise my engine. Technically, if we put this in there, it would push the hub outward. Now, the question is, how many of these are we gonna need to get to -20? We shall see. The goal is to at least see what -20 looks like on an XB, see if it's doable. Now, obviously adding washers to this puts a lot more stress on the actual bearing itself and onto the solid beam, but it's doable. There's a guy on TikTok, I'll put his app right here. Basically, he has a Chevy Aveo, which they have the exact same solid beam, like suspension, and he's at like -23, and all he has is longer bolts, a fuck ton of washers, and hours figured into getting the alignment right. Obviously, when you're adding these aren't perfectly in the middle or centered, so when you add some here, your toe is going to be off and it's going to be out of spec. So we need to factor that in once we figure everything out, but we at least just want to see what it's going to be and what it's going to take. Now, these bolts are too small to be able to carry 16 washers on each one. And yes, I'm going to put 16 washers on each side and see where we're at. So let me find a longer bolt, because I'm pretty sure I have one that's this exact same thread. Let me find a longer bolt and we'll be back. All right, so I found two bolts that are roughly the same length, and they give you enough space to put the hub plus the threads in. All right, cool. So first one's in there. Cool. I don't know how this is gonna work, because see, my issue is we have that sensor back there. I wonder if we could just remove that. See, so like the hub has this little thing which is what holds on to here. Now, how is that gonna work? Let me see. Let me figure this out. BRB. After doing some careful consideration and TikTok search, I'm just gonna fucking send it. Enough talking. This shit blocks it, so it's not gonna sit flat, and I already know that. But that way I kind of understand where it's going. Do one bolt first. Now, obviously right now, loose as shit. Let me go back and forth and tighten all this up and see if it tilts. All right, so it's sort of tightened. As you can see, the hub is tilted. They're not even, but they're tight. So I mean, I'm gonna go try to tighten them again one more time, and then we'll put the rotor and the wheel to see where we're at. Now again, this is all a trial and we're not driving it like this. Don't come at me. We got to do some sketchy shit to get the shit right without spending 3 bands to get this beam tilted, okay? Obviously, rotor's not on. There's a lot of shit not accurate. But, as you can see, this motherfucker's tilted. That's actually crazy. God. Peep the fucking camber. That's actually nuts. Mind you, this is an 8.5. So, like, this whole thing, you know, like the whole quarter showing, which don't worry, we're gonna take a crack at these in like a couple weeks. Yo, that shit's fucking nuts, dude. Obviously the toe is off, which it's crazy off. All right, so here you have it, camber on a Scion XB. Now obviously the toe is going to be off because it's just barely mounted on, but I put a piece of wood and I measured and it's -15. It looks kind of crazy and it pokes out a lot from the bottom, but right now the biggest issues are it's towed in. So obviously when it's towed in, it's basically, if the wheel was straight, it'd be like this. It's like this. So I need to straighten it back out. The issue is with the toe in, it is hitting on my quarter pretty significant. Like that is bending the tire. So it hits there 1, and then 2, it's hitting here again. So because of the camber, the car sits lower, so it's hitting on this as well. So we would need to figure out something to do with this. I don't even know if we could roll this enough to where it clears. This would be cutting it, so I mean shaving it even more. And then it's hitting here right now, and obviously when it's fixed it shouldn't hit here, but that's our biggest worry. So the thing is with this suspension, the lower you go, the more caster is added. So yeah, we'd have to figure out the caster on this before we can even tilt it, because right now that's not really gonna work. And don't get me wrong, 15 looks crazy, and like I want to do more, like -25 if possible, but like if this is 15 and these are all the issues that we have, imagine at 25. Now if you guys have seen previous videos, in the rear of my XB I just have a spring in here, and that spring is about 4.5 inches or somewhere around there, maybe like 375, whatever. I'm going to try and add this perch onto it. Now the car would technically be higher. Now I'm hoping the caster isn't as bad when it goes higher. That way we might not even need to cut anything else, and maybe this would work. So it did help, because right now we are higher, so it's not sitting on this, but it is still hitting here. Now obviously we could really try to push these out, but that issue is that the toe is in, and since the toe is in, this is going to get pushed out a tiny bit, and then this gets pushed in. So here I'm not too worried about it hitting the bumper, but we're more worried about it hitting the quarter over here. Now I could keep going higher and higher. Obviously when the car is fully tilted, it'll sit a tad lower either way, but I mean the goal is to have it on the floor, so don't really know if it's possible. Yeah, so that's gonna be it for today's video. We tried to camber the rear of the XB with washers. As you guys saw, it's kind of iffy, and I don't know if we're gonna be able to stay stock quarters. We might have to go fender flares or wide body to be able to camber the box. Obviously I could take the beam to get welded at a shop, but every single shop is taxing. I mean, I obviously know it's hella work because you need to get the alignment right, and then obviously a caster. There's a bunch of stuff that goes into cutting and welding the beam, but I'm not trying to spend $2,500 to get it cambered, plus all the other stuff I got to do to be able to even run that camber. So we'll figure it out. Let me know in the comments down below if we should go wide body or we just fuck it to the camber and only do like 8 or 9 degrees or something less. Obviously I know the washers is kind of iffy, but if I'm not cutting and welding, washers it is. Hit the like and subscribe. We'll be back on the next one. Let's go.